This video was BPD abuse traumatizes loved ones. May 31st, 2017. And yeah, a little busy with 93 comments, and I think they're not all so happy, lovey-dovey to each other, because I think people have been arguing over here. I'm not really sure. Because of a couple of comments from somebody who has BPD, which I thought was really worth mentioning on the one side of the ledger of what I'm talking about. The person with BPD said on that video, commented, I have BPD and I was the abuser for a year and a half. I completely traumatized my ex, knew exactly what I was doing. I just couldn't stop myself. And then they said, I've written a huge apology to him now, but I still feel so effing guilty. I don't know, there's a lot of words in the English language. Is that the only way to express oneself? And then they said, I've hurt myself over it so much, I just can't stand myself. There's a double victim narrative, by the way. I was a victim, so I couldn't help but abuse the person I was with, and now I hate myself so much for it. Who does that help? And then they said, I don't want to live like this anymore. I don't want to live with this sickness. Well, it depends on a person's lens, right? Because BPD really isn't a sickness. And then they said, I told them my abusive behavior was because of my BPD, and I just want him to realize I didn't want to do any of those things. Now, if you're paying attention here, the person said they did them and they knew they were doing them, but they didn't mean to do any of those things. And then they said, when you have this illness, you seriously can't stop yourself no matter how bad you want to. So I mentioned personal responsibility to the person, and that just couldn't stop yourself is quite the excuse. And that, that they said something about feeling guilty, and I'm like, well, you should feel guilty. I didn't use the word should, but they are guilty of something. And they wrote back and said, it's literally so complicated. I've had it for years in capital letters with a diagnosis, so I'd appreciate if you'd stop invalidating me. I don't mean to be disrespectful here. This is just like, wow. Nobody makes you feel anything. Have a commitment to personal responsibility, whether you're a borderline or you have codependency. So they said, yeah, it's literally complicated. I've had it for years with a diagnosis, so I'd appreciate if you would stop invalidating me. If I could go to therapy, I would, but again, I can't afford it. Again, they can't afford it. They never said that before. So I replied back, to which I'm sure there'll be another one waiting for me any second now. It's not that complicated. It's complicated, but it's not that complicated that people can't get help. Stick with it. Take some personal responsibility. Learn how to do that. And do something about it. If you feel invalidated, please take responsibility for how you feel. I'm not invalidating you. I'm speaking truth to your victim narrative. The quote, can't afford it, unquote. Yeah, well, that's difficult. Reading from my own comment here. But you need to do all you can do in the meantime. Start with losing the poor me victim mindset. And then that's just, blunt, keeping it real, truth. This person with BPD actually said they didn't mean to do it. They couldn't help doing it, but they did it on purpose. I mean, that's just in 2 or 3 comments, actually.